So hopefully many of you will be aware that on our website we've done a lot of materials on exercise, what we call rehabilitation as well, over the years. And I know many of you sort of took part in some of those videos as well. What we've done here is that we've put out a call to really ask for your specific questions, and we're going to answer some of those questions now with Carol Keane, who's a senior physiotherapist who's been working in Sheffield with the PH service, the pulmonary hypertension service, for over 5 years. Some of that work we've actually funded as an organisation, because we know from the comments and the questions that you give that rehabilitation, exercise, what is safe to do is really important to you. So I'm going to leave you now in the capable hands of Carol to answer the questions as they've come in.
So it's great to be here today and to have the opportunity to answer all of the questions that have come through from patients with pulmonary hypertension about exercise and being active as part of managing the condition. Lots of the questions that have come through are questions that I've been asked many times over the years, or that have come up with lots of our patients, and so it's really nice to be able to put all of this together in one place so that the answers are there for everybody to see. So people often ask whether exercising is safe in pulmonary hypertension, and are concerned that by exercising they might be putting their heart or their health at risk. And the answer to that is that exercise is safe. And we know that because we've got a lot of research around exercise in pulmonary hypertension, and also because we've been getting our patients to do exercise and to be more active over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've seen the difference that it can make to patients. So it's not just that exercise is safe, but we also know that it's beneficial. So it can help patients to be able to do more day to day, to be able to walk further, for example, without stopping, to be able to get up the stairs without needing to pause or be less short of breath at the top. And we've seen patients who are being able to get back into other activities, play with their grandchildren, get back into work as a result of the exercise that they've been doing. Also, it can improve quality of life. Exercise has lots of benefits for your mental as well as your physical well-being, and it's a really good way for patients to start to take some control of their condition. It's something that you can manage yourself in a way that you can have input into your health and your well-being. Sometimes living with a long-term condition like pulmonary hypertension, things can feel like they're out of control a little bit for you, or you're in the hands of others, and this is something that you can do for yourself and take control of yourself. So exercise is safe, and it's really, really beneficial for patients with pulmonary hypertension. One of the reasons people worry about exercising is because when they exercise they might feel short of breath. And when you've got a condition like pulmonary hypertension, feeling short of breath can be worrying for you because it's one of your symptoms. So it's hard to tell when you're exercising if that shortness of breath is coming from your symptoms or whether it's because you're actually exercising. And therefore, is that shortness of breath a good thing or a bad thing? So what we would say is when you're exercising, you are likely to feel short of breath. And in fact, if you're exercising, it's important that you feel short of breath, because that's how you're going to feel fitter and how you're going to get fitter and stronger. What's important to gauge and to manage is how short of breath you are. So what we would always say is when you're exercising, it's important that you feel a little bit short of breath, but you could still chat. So if you were out for a brisk walk or doing a run or doing some exercise in your living room and I was there with you, I might say to you, how's it going? How are you getting on with your exercise? And you'd be able to answer me, but your answer would be a little bit breathless. You might have to shorten your sentences a little bit and take some extra pauses as you catch your breath. That's perfect. That's exactly the level of breathlessness that you want to be at when you're exercising. If you're gasping or panting or can't catch your breath to speak, then you're exercising too hard and you need to slow down or reduce the amount that you're doing. And if you're not feeling breathless at all, then you're being active, but you're not exercising. And activity is great and it's important to be active when you've got a long-term condition, but you're not exercising, and it's really important to understand the difference between the two.
If you're completing day-to-day activities, we would suggest to pace yourself so as not to become too short of breath. This means walking at a slow pace where you don't feel short of breath at all. When walking to exercise, you should aim to feel short of breath, but still be able to talk to a friend, even if this is in broken sentences. Slow down if you are feeling too short of breath. Varying your pace can help manage your breathlessness, and this is better than stopping to have a rest. It's a good idea to walk with somebody until you become more confident with how short of breath you should feel whilst walking.
So people often ask or get a little bit confused about the difference between being active and exercise. And both are important when you're managing a long-term condition, or even if you're not, even for people who are healthy. So it's important to stay active. Staying active is doing things that involve moving, getting about, and physical activities that you might do during the day. But generally, they shouldn't make you breathless. They shouldn't increase your heart rate significantly. They should just keep you at a level pace or a level steady. Exercising are the things that get your heart rate up, get your breathing up, get you out of breath, get you a little bit sweaty. Now, what is activity and what is exercise will be very individual, particularly for patients with pulmonary hypertension. So for some patients, going for a walk might be exercise because it gets them out of breath, it gets their heart rate up, it gets them a bit sweaty. For other patients who maybe have less symptoms, then going for a walk might simply be a form of activity for them and something they do as part of their routine day to day. Some people would be exhausted by walking around the shops. Some people would be able to go around the shops quite comfortably, and that would be activity for them. Some people find that going up and down the stairs is an activity that's very exhausting for them. For other people, it's something they can manage more easily. So it's very individual, and you have to work out for yourself when you're being active and when you're exercising. And like I said, it's important to do both. In terms of how much exercise you should do, the World Health Organization has guidelines on how much exercise everybody should do. And the same rules or the same guidance applies whether you've got pulmonary hypertension, whether you've got another long-term condition, or in fact if you're a healthy person without any health problems at all. And the guidance is that you should aim to do 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity every week. So moderate intensity activity is, as we described before, where you're a little bit short of breath but you could still chat, where your heart rate's a little bit elevated but it's not going very, very fast. So we all need to aim to do 150 minutes of exercise every week of moderate intensity. Now, at the moment, you might be doing none at all. And if that's the case, or if you're doing a very, very low amount, I wouldn't suggest that you go out next week and aim to do 150 minutes. What I'd suggest you do is to try and think about how much you are doing. Maybe write it down, work it out over a week, add your minutes up, work it out over a few weeks even, because you will vary, and then see if you can gradually increase the amount you do. Can you increase it by 5% over a week? Can you increase it by 10% over a week? And then gradually build up to a long-term target where you're doing 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity. If you've got quite severe PH, it might be that only small amounts of activity count for you as exercise, and in that case you might get up to your 150 minutes quite easily. And anything that's a chunk of 10 minutes or more counts towards your total. So you don't have to be going out and doing an hour of exercise, you don't have to be going out to the gym for 40 minutes. If you're doing something that gets you a little bit out of breath for 10 minutes or more, then it counts towards your 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. The key is work out what you're doing now, gradually build it up, gradually build it up, gradually build it up. So in terms of what type of exercise to do and what's the right kind of exercise to do, the main thing is that the exercise that you want to be doing is something that you enjoy and that's easy for you to do. So it's accessible to you, it's near your home, and you like to do it. That's the best form of exercise. Everything else is pretty much on the table. If you enjoy swimming and you can swim safely, swim. If you like to cycle, cycle. If you want to do exercise in your home, do that. If yoga's the thing for you, then there are ways that you can do yoga safely as well. So everything's on the table, and we'll talk a little bit more about different forms of exercise later on. What shouldn't you be doing? There are no specific exercises that you shouldn't do. We would say to avoid lifting anything heavy. And by heavy, I mean anything that makes you strain to lift. So that's not just lifting weights at the gym, and that's not the thing for everybody, but that might also involve moving furniture around the house, carrying big heavy bags of shopping, things like that. Anything that makes you strain or hold your breath to lift is something that might be a bit too heavy for you as somebody with pulmonary hypertension. Other than that, if you're a little bit short of breath but you can still breathe or still chat, if you're not feeling dizzy, if you've not got chest pain, then you're okay to go and do your exercise. And in terms of safety, again, the main principle is start with small little steps and gradually build up the amount that you're doing, whether that's the amount of time that you're exercising for or the intensity of your exercise. Start small, start with things you know you can achieve and gradually build it up. That way you'll stay motivated, but also you keep within the bounds of your limits and within the bounds of safety, and you're not going to be at risk of injury or accident. It's perfectly normal after you've been exercising to feel a little bit tired afterwards. You might find that your muscles are achy, or even that your muscles feel a bit sore if you've been doing some more vigorous exercise. And these are the normal effects of doing exercise. The muscle soreness is called delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS, and it might be that you experience these feelings later on in the day after you've exercised, or into the next day, or sometimes even into day 2. It's perfectly normal. It's the body's response to exercise, and in a way it sort of shows that you have been exercising, that you've worked your muscles, and it's your muscles recovering from that, and it's showing that they're going to be stronger as a result. It's a good idea to warm up before you exercise, particularly if you're doing quite a lot. So just spending up to 5 minutes, very gradually getting moving yourself about, stretching, gradually building up your heart rate and getting the blood flowing around your body before you start, and to cool down in the same way afterwards, and to make sure you stretch afterwards. Those can help prevent injury and to stop or to at least improve that muscle aching that you might feel afterwards. It's normal to feel tired after exercise, but we do know many patients with pulmonary hypertension experience symptoms of fatigue. If you're finding that you're doing exercise and it's leaving you very wiped out or very fatigued afterwards, then it may be that you need to think about the exercise that you're doing. It may be that you need to do something that's less intense, or perhaps that you need to break your exercise up into smaller chunks and do more little and often, so doing smaller chunks over a number of days, so that your exercise doesn't impact on your fatigue in a negative way. Exercise can help to improve symptoms of fatigue, exercising and being more active over time, but it's important to get it in at the right levels and in the right way. So we've had some questions about specific types of exercises and things that people should do, and we'll have a look at those now. One of the questions, and I often get this one, is about whether yoga is a good exercise in pulmonary hypertension, and the answer to that is a qualified yes. So yoga is a really, really good form of exercise for all types of things. It's excellent in supporting you with your breathing and in learning to manage and control your breathing, which in pulmonary hypertension is a really, really good thing to do. It's also really, really good for calming, relaxing, and for managing mental well-being. Yoga is a really good way to stay mobile and to keep yourself flexible, as well as increasing your strength and keeping you active and able to do things. Yoga varies massively in terms of what's available. So there are different types of yoga, there are different classes, there are different instructors, and everyone is going to be different. There are some very, very gentle forms of yoga available. You can find seated yoga classes, for example. You can find beginners yoga up to the very much more vigorous yoga. And it's really about finding what suits you and what works for you. The only thing I would say as a caution in doing yoga is that it can be that some of the yoga postures which end up with you being inverted, so where your head is down, hands are on the floor, for example, can cause dizziness and could potentially cause blackouts in patients with pulmonary hypertension. It doesn't necessarily do that, but it's something to think about. So if those are poses that your class does a lot and you've never done them before, you might want to think about how you're going to do about doing that, talk to your teacher, practice at home a little bit, go into them gradually, or try a different class to start with. But lots of people, lots of patients that we have with pulmonary hypertension do yoga successfully without any problems. So it's not an absolute no, it's just to think about it very carefully. People also ask about Pilates, which is similar in many ways to yoga, and the same advice would hold. Pilates can vary quite a lot. It can be very good for helping breathing, and really valuable form of exercise, but there may also be similar postures and poses, particularly where your head is down, that could cause some dizziness, and so go about it with caution. Some people prefer yoga, some people prefer Pilates, and it's up to you to find the one that you like and that works for you. If you've got a class near you, that's the best thing. Exercises for joints, for people with joint problems. It's really common that people have more problems than just pulmonary hypertension. Arthritis in knees, arthritis in backs are the most things that are most commonly come up against. General strengthening or movement exercises are good for those. It's easy to do exercises where you are only using your body weight, so there's no need to add any additional weights or loads to those kinds of exercises, because they can sometimes exacerbate joint pain. If you have some specific pain in a joint, some knee pain particularly, or some back pain, and it really troubles you, you might say sometimes that maybe your pain limits you more than your breathing does, then it would be a really good idea to speak to your GP about that, to make sure that your pain relief is well controlled, and to ask to see a physiotherapist, because they can give specific exercises to support arthritic knees, joints, backs, things like that, which just strengthen specific muscle groups that can help with that pain. But in terms of general exercise, if you're a little bit achy, if you're a little bit stiff, if you've got some slightly sore joints, then gentle exercise, walking is good. Strengthening the muscles around the joint is good, but maybe avoiding things that are particularly load-bearing or high impact. In my mind, anybody can exercise. It doesn't matter whether you're limited in how much you can move. It doesn't matter whether you've got different disabilities. It doesn't matter whether you can walk 10 yards or 10,000 steps in a day. There is an exercise program that could help you to get a little bit fitter and a little bit stronger. It's about finding the right kind of thing. Some people are happier with exercises that they do at home. Some people are happier exercising sitting down. And say if you've got pain problems or joint problems or balance problems, exercises sitting down are a really good idea. We'll share a link on the screen to a set of exercises that are made available by the British Lung Foundation, and these exercises are designed for people with breathing problems. When you go onto the website, the British Lung Foundation website, you'll see the exercises are graded by level. So there's level 1, level 2 and level 3, and it guides you as to which level you might be in. When you go through and to do the exercises, it's like a video class run by a physiotherapist, and the people in the class do each of this set of exercises, but one person will do level 1, one person will do level 2, and one person will do level 3. And you can pick or choose the level that you feel is most suited to you. And often the level 1 exercise, the most basic, is somebody sitting down or doing the exercise with a lot of support, so standing up, holding onto a chair, that kind of thing. So it might be that for either reasons of breathing or reasons of joint pain or balance, as you go through those exercises, you might choose to be at level 1 for some of them, or you might find you're at level 2 or level 3. And these are a really good set of exercises. They talk a lot about exercising safely. They talk a lot about managing your breathing when you're exercising. And if you're wondering what to do and where to start, these are some exercises that you can do yourself at home and feel advised that they're reasonably safe. For everybody, I'd probably suggest the first time you go through them, start at level 1, see how you find it, and then think about moving yourself up as you're able to.
Sit to stand from a chair is a great exercise for strengthening your legs. If you start off in an upright sitting position, not leaning backwards to the back of the chair, and push up through your legs, you can repeat this exercise as many times as you can before you start to feel breathless, and that will help increase the strength in your muscles. To make the exercise more difficult, you can cross your arms over your chest and stand up from this position rather than pushing up from the arms of the chair. This is another exercise that can be done at home, and it helps strengthen the bicep muscles in your arms. This exercise is best done in standing, but if you're unable to stand for long periods of time, you can do it sat in the chair. Make sure if you're sitting in the chair, you sit at the edge of the seat with your back straight and your shoulders relaxed. You can use any object around the house as a weight for this exercise, including cans of food or water bottles. Starting with the object in your hand, straighten your elbow and bring it up towards your chest. Repeat this exercise as many times as you can, making sure you do the exercise in both hands. Continue to breathe regularly throughout the exercise and try not to hold your breath. These exercises are to help strengthen the muscles in your shoulder. They are best done in an upright position, but can also be done sat on the edge of the chair. Start with your arm by your side and the object in your hand. Keeping your elbow straight, raise your arm to shoulder height before bringing it back down. This exercise can either be done bringing your arm out in front of you or out to the side. Aim to repeat this exercise as many times as you can on both arms, and remember not to hold your breath as you're doing it.
One of the best forms of exercise that we can undertake, anybody, is walking. It's free, easy to do, accessible. It can get you outside in the world. It's good for your mental health and your psychological well-being. You can bump into people, have a chat, see your neighbours and find out what's happening in your area. It can get you in touch with nature. You can vary your pace when you walk, so you can walk more briskly if you want to exercise. You can walk more slowly if you're more out of breath or you just want to be more active. And I would really recommend that as much as possible, people try to build some walking into their exercise if they're able to. Being upright, moving about can also help with joint stiffness and joint mobility. It can help with specific problems like ankle swelling, which can be a problem with lots of our patients. Moving your calves, exercising your ankles and walking around can help promote circulation, which can help with lower limb swelling. And it can help sometimes with abdominal or intestinal problems like bloating, which again can be quite common with some of our patients too. So if you're not able to get out for a walk, making sure that you get up and move around the house regularly. If you are able to get out for a walk, trying to get out most days and do whatever walk it is that's available to you. And again, if you don't do much walking at the moment, start small, start with a tiny, tiny walk, come back, take your coat off, make yourself a cup of tea, tell yourself you're amazing. And then the next day, go a little bit further and gradually build up the amount of walking that you're doing. We sometimes get asked about specific sets of exercises and whether they're a good idea to do them. Particularly people want to know about abdominal exercises, sit-up crunches and things like that. If you can do them comfortably, if you can do them without getting out of breath or without pain, then there's no harm in doing them. But really, if you're spending your time exercising, then it would be better to be doing whole body exercise that includes strengthening and cardiovascular exercise where you're getting short of breath as well. As well as exercises that get you stronger and that get you fitter, in pulmonary hypertension, breathing exercises are a really, really valuable tool as well. Breathing exercises can be used to help to improve the strength of your breathing muscles. So we don't often think about having muscles that make us breathe, but just like your leg muscles can get weaker, your arm muscles can get weaker, your breathing muscles can get weaker as well. Breathing exercises are a way of helping to calm and to manage anxiety. And we know that anxiety and breathlessness often go hand in hand. Where you feel a bit anxious, it makes you feel a bit breathless, makes you feel a bit anxious, it makes you feel a bit breathless. And patients talk to us a lot about the cycle that they can get themselves into in that. And being able to do good breathing exercises can also help to recover after some exercise. So if you've been doing a bout of exercise, you're feeling a bit short of breath, being able to tap into some breathing exercises is a really good way to calm your breathing down. Learning to control your breathing can help you to manage your breathlessness. You need to start by finding a comfortable position in an upright chair with your back well supported, feet flat on the floor and arms relaxed on your lap. Your breath is supposed to come from your diaphragm, so the first thing to do is to find your diaphragm. Start by putting your hand on your tummy. relax your shoulders, and then have a little cough. And you can feel underneath your hand there where your diaphragm is. You place your other hand up on top of your chest, and as you breathe, you want your bottom hand to rise and fall with the breath, and your top hand to stay as still as you can, so that the breath's coming from your diaphragm, from your tummy. Relax your shoulders, and as you breathe in, think about pushing your bottom hand away, pushing it out, and then breathe out, and the hand falls back down again. Breathe in, push the hand away, relax your shoulders, and let the rise and fall of your breath, feel it underneath your bottom hand. Think about pushing your hand away as you take the breath in. And think about the breath going in through your nose and out through your mouth. And the first step in this is just to practice finding your breath, finding your diaphragm, and practice those gentle breaths from your diaphragm. It can be quite difficult to get the hang of, and if you're quite short of breath, it can be quite tiring. So it might be something that you practice for a minute or two, a few times through each day, until you feel that you can comfortably sit down and easily find that relaxed breath that's coming from your diaphragm. Once you've mastered a gentle, controlled breath from your abdomen, you can progress that by learning to take bigger breaths, longer breaths. If you think about it as going up floors in an elevator, this breath would take you to level 1. If you wanted to go up to level 2 on the lift, you need to take the same breath, but it lasts for longer. So as you breathe in, you count for 1, 2. If you want to get up to the 3rd floor, you count to 1, 2, 3. Making sure all the way through that you keep in control of the breath, and the breath's always coming from the abdomen. Exercise isn't for everyone, and some people find it hard to motivate themselves. Some people find it tedious or boring and don't like the repetition of doing the same set of exercises over and over again. So there are ways to bring about more interest in it. You could exercise with friends or with family members, whether that's at home or going out and doing something together. You could incorporate something like walking into your exercise so that you're getting out of the house and doing things outside. Joining a gym isn't for everybody, but it does open up the opportunities for lots of different ways of exercising. Finding an exercise class that you like can not just be a way of exercising, but also of increasing your social circle and getting to know other people as well. Find something that you like, find something that you enjoy, find something that's easy for you to get to, and find people that you like doing it with, or at least one of those things if you can't manage all of them. In terms of motivation, it's always a really, really good idea to have a backup plan as well, or a recovery plan. So if walking is your main form of exercise, what are you going to do if it rains all week? Have you got some exercises that you could do at home to stave off those rainy days? If you're not feeling very well, then you're not going to exercise over a period of time. What do you think you're going to do as you start to recover? Probably not go back into your full exercise program, but maybe gradually introduce your exercises again, gradually slowly build up your activity and slowly move back to where you were before. So it's just a good idea to be thinking, this is where I am now, but what would I do if things changed, or if things were different? Try and mix your exercise program around. We talked about the World Health Organization recommendations of 150 minutes. They also, part of that recommendation is that your exercise should include cardiovascular exercise, so exercise where your heart rate gets up, where you're working a little bit more. Strength or resistance exercises, where you're exercising to make your muscles stronger, and also balance exercises. And they're often the things that people miss off. And then we get into problems with people being unsteady or falling. So things like yoga and Pilates are good for balance. Tai Chi or Qigong are also really good, easy, gentle forms of exercise which are good for balance. Or you can just incorporate some balance exercises into your daily routine or the exercises that you're doing. You can stand on one leg while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. and it will improve your balance. There's different ways of doing it, but make sure you're doing well-rounded exercise, because that helps to keep it interesting as well, rather than just doing the same exercises over and over. We know that exercise is beneficial in patients with pulmonary hypertension. We know that it can improve what you're able to do functionally, and it improves quality of life. What it doesn't do, and it's important to know this, is it doesn't improve the underlying lung condition. It doesn't change your pulmonary hypertension. It doesn't improve damaged lungs. It doesn't increase lung capacity where that is reduced. What it does is it improves the circulation of the body. It improves the way the body is able to transport oxygen around the body. It improves the strength in the muscles, and it improves how your body responds to exercise, and therefore allows you to do more. And that's the same for breathing exercises, physical exercises, and strengthening exercises. It won't necessarily, if you exist with reasonably low oxygen saturations, doing exercise might not change that, but it will allow you to do more within the limitations that you have, and that's why it's an important thing to do. The main safety consideration when exercising with pulmonary hypertension is that some patients with PH can experience dizziness or blackouts, and for some people that's worse when they exercise or exert themselves. If you are somebody who is experiencing dizziness on a regular basis, if you're finding that you are blacking out, and particularly if you're doing things when you're doing exercise, then that's something that you need to be going and talking to your PH specialist centre about for a review of the management of your disease. And at that point, I would advise you to stop exercising or pull back significantly on your exercise, so that you're working within a zone where it's not making you feel dizzy, and it's certainly not making you black out. That's not a normal part of having pulmonary hypertension, and it's not something you should put up with because you've got PH. It's something that you should get addressed, and something you should talk to your specialist centre about reasonably soon. I know that all of this can be quite confusing and difficult to take on for people who are new to pulmonary hypertension. Some people might be still waiting for a diagnosis, or have a relatively new diagnosis and just started on their medication. For those people, I think that staying active is important, but it might not be the right time to start exercising yet. It might be worth waiting till you've been given a clear diagnosis, until you've been started on your medication, and until your medication has had time to take effect, which might sometimes be around 3 or 6 months. People start to feel more stable, find that their symptoms are better controlled on their pulmonary hypertension. So if that's you and you're in that situation, then definitely stay active, try and keep moving as much as you can, do things within your limits, but maybe wait until there's more certainty about the management of your pulmonary hypertension before you undertake an exercise program. Exercise is fabulous for people, whether they've got pulmonary hypertension or other long-term conditions, or whether they're generally well. It can make you feel more energetic, it can make you feel better, it can make you feel healthier. It is easy to overdo it with exercise, particularly if it makes you feel good, you want to do more, and you can push yourself harder. Sometimes you might try to keep up with other people, and that can make you push yourself harder too. Or it just might be general over-enthusiasm. It's important to pace yourself. It's important to manage your energy levels day to day, week to week. We know how common fatigue is in pulmonary hypertension. You might want to plan your week. You might want to plan your exercise sessions around other activities that you've got, so that you're not exercising on a very, very busy day, which might tire you out completely. You might want to plan your exercise around your symptoms. If you know you're having a bad day and you just have some bad days, that's not an exercise day. That's fine. Be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself on that day, and wait till a better day comes along and make that your exercise day instead. If you're taking up exercises and doing more and you find it's making your fatigue or your tiredness worse, then back it off a little bit, reintroduce exercise gradually, and progress yourself and build up. Exercise is so important. It's such an important part of managing your condition. It's important to get it right, but it's important to balance that as well with managing your symptoms, managing the rest of your life, and making sure that you still enjoy it. Doing too much, pushing yourself too hard can take some of the enjoyment out of it as well. So finding the right balance, fitting it in well around your other activities, get other people involved, do something that you enjoy, and pace yourself, and hopefully that will give a happy exerciser and better manage pulmonary hypertension.